Hey Taylor, how you doing today? Good to see you.
I am wonderful. How are you, Kayo?
I'm doing fantastic. How's your day been so far?
It's good. It's just getting started. As I mentioned before we started, I did my run this morning. I have a half marathon coming up on Sunday, which I haven't run in about 7 years. But I've had 9 weeks of training, so it's okay.
Um, I mean, it's definitely a great idea to keep fit and keep that blood flowing through the system. So that's great. That's great. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, it's beyond a great idea. It's essential
Hmm.
if you want to live long. I mean, you got to keep working out, lifting weights,
Yeah, yeah,
building
for sure.
muscle, all of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so let the viewers know who you are, what you do, and why you do it, Taylor.
Oh, well, my name is Taylor Sparks. I am a sex goddess. I am an ethical non-monogamous coach. I'm the founder of Organic Lovin', LOVEN.com. And we specialize in improving adult sexual health and wellness through our organic intimate body products, body safe sex toys, sex positive books, as well as coaching seminars and luxury adults vacation. And why do I do it? Oh my God. Well, I've been into health and wellness for a very, very long time. Prior to having Organic Lovin', I've been a corporate trainer for more than 10 years, specializing or with a focus on communications, negotiations, leadership management, conflict resolution. Prior to owning Organic Lovin', I owned a company called Skincare for Athletes, where we had 16 head to toe care products for elite endurance athletes. And so we sponsored marathons, half marathons, we sponsored 5 different Olympians. And that kind of led to, or those two companies kind of led to what I have today. About 16 years ago, in the midst of my 25-year marriage, we opened up our relationship, became ethically non monogamous. And then we started traveling, and we had a travel group for adults only. And one of the groups hired me to develop a line of organic, um, sensual massage oils and body washes, which I did. But when it came time to launch it, they had no place to sell it because they had a travel agency and I had a skincare for athletes company. So with a little bit of love and support from them, I launched Organic Lovin' almost 12 years ago now, starting with their 4 products. I no longer manufacture, I am now a reseller. And now we offer more than 1,500 products representing more than 230 brands, and we ship worldwide.
Excellent, excellent. Now you mentioned you had a 16 years of marriage and then you decided to open up the marriage. Now, when we look at relationships in general, like we all have different struggles that we have in relationships and we have to navigate through different things in order to get to where we are now. Now, in that time when you decided you wanted to open up your marriage, were there any struggles that you were facing prior to that, or what was the reason why you decided to open up the marriage?
So the marriage, we were married 25 years. So 12 years in, we decided to open up the marriage. And it was actually my idea to do so. And I think that most of the struggles that we had were primarily, communication issues, and just not being in alignment in how we thought things should be done. But the marriage overall was good. We had no issues with infidelity. And we went to hedonism resort in the Grill, Jamaica with a non-swing group. We had moved down to North Carolina from Boston. We had a lot of financial struggles. And then we were back up on our feet, and we had not been on vacation without the kids in like 7 years. So I'm like, I want to go someplace where I could be naked on the beach if I wanted to be, and make love to my husband on the beach if I wanted to, and nobody would be like, "Oh my God!" They'd be like, "We give that a 10. Yay, we should do that, right?" And so I decided that we should go, and he was like, "We are not going. We are not those kind of people." I'm like, "Of course we're not those kind of people. We don't care about those people. I just want to go someplace where I could just be free." And so I've always been open and open minded, but I knew nothing about non-monogamy or, swinger. I knew nothing about that. I just wanted to go to the resort. I had heard so much about it. And after much debate, we went, and the first people we met were people who were swingers. And I was like, how would you do that? Like, how? I had so many questions. How are you doing this? Like, where are you doing this? Like, with whom? I just had all of the questions, and I got a lot of my questions answered, but we decided that that was not something. And so we got back home, but I was curious about open relationships. So I actually Googled what are the benefits of an open relationship, and up popped an article from a husband's perspective about the benefits. So I showed it to my husband. I'm like, we should try this. He was like, is this a trick question? You just want me to agree to this and you can divorce me? I don't want anybody. I'm like, no, this will be good. But we'll just do it separately. So we were open, not swinging. So we did everything. So we set our boundaries. And I'm like, if we don't like it, we'll just go back to being monogamous. What's the big deal? And so we did. And we did that we did the open thing for a couple of years, doing everything separately, we had, 2,711 boundaries at the time. And then we kind of backed into the swinging thing. And then after a few years of that, also transitioned and added polyamory and kink to his dismay. He was like, we're doing what now? I'm like, I want a boyfriend. I want I want three boyfriends. I want a Dom. No, wait, I am a Dom. He's like, oh my God. He said, I'm just gonna go have my moments, we called it excursions, and then I'm gonna come home. I don't want to date. I don't want anything romantic. I'm like, well, we're not attached at the hip. So you can do your thing and I'll do my thing. And what we like to do together, we'll continue to do together. So that's
Right.
kind of
Now, going
how
back,
that
oh, go
happened.
ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Going back to what you said about communication, you said you had some issues with communication. Like, what were those kind of issues, and like, what was the actual thing that you were struggling to communicate about? And did being open afterwards help that communication? And if so, in what way did it help?
So in monogamy, we are not really taught about emotional management. We are not really taught about radical honesty. We always say, oh, you got to communicate, but we leave out the authenticity of our communication. For us, most of our struggles, like a lot of couples, came around spending, budgeting, right? Sometimes a spender marries a saver, or right, or vice versa. Um, Work, we started as two people who wanted to have our own businesses as entrepreneurs, when in fact he was really a corporate guy. And although I've worked in corporate for many, 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 many years, the core of me is entrepreneurial. So though, our struggles was kind of on that. And I wouldn't say there was so much of a struggle, but in a lot of relationships, sometimes we don't marry our what's the word? We don't marry our libidos aren't aligned, because you might have somebody who's really high and somebody that's low. And mind you, sex and sexuality is on a spectrum. So what's high for me may be low for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So no one talks about how to navigate that. And that's something I help um, couples and individuals kind of come to terms with their differences in their libido. And unfortunately, in monogamy, a lot of times when we have one or two things that are out of alignment, especially if it's something that's important to us, like sex. For some people, it's not that important, doesn't make it wrong. Um, we don't know how to get around it. So because a lot of times the person who's got the higher one is always chasing the one that's got the lower one, right? And on occasion, the one who's got the lower libido will raise their libido up to try to match the higher libido person, but they're unable to maintain it because that's not who they are at the core. You see, they're willing, but they're unable to maintain that. And then the one with the higher libido will sometimes ask for less, lower their libido in order to try to match the lower libido of their partner, but they're unable to maintain that because that's not who they are at the core. So you end up with this chasm, if you will, this abyss again between the two. And for if sex is really, really important for one of the partners, um, sometimes having some flexibility with regards to an open relationship may not always be the answer. Don't get me wrong. Um, but it having some kind of outlet or some kind of options in how to address that, you see. So again, in monogamy, when one or two things are wrong, we throw the whole relationship out. And in non-monogamy, we go, well, these are a couple of areas we're not aligned with, but 8 out of 10 we are aligned with. So we'll keep the relationship in those two things. We'll just find somebody else to do them with. And it could be salsa dancing. It could be tango. It doesn't have to be something sexual. But tango, salsa are two intimate dances, right? And if you, okay, you'll start telling, your wife or your girlfriend, well, Taylor and I are meeting Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays for tango lessons. What? Okay, well, how long are you gonna keep doing this? Because I mean, in that, aren't you kind of close? You're all up on her and looking in each other's eye. Well, that's how the dance goes. And at some point, her girlfriend's gonna be like, well, why is he always out with this woman? And like, what's going on between them two? And then you're like, hey, babe, Taylor and I want to go away, to Spain for the weekend because there's a tango competition and we've really been practicing. What do you mean you want to go away with her for the weekend? That's just so unheard of in monogamy for a lot of people. So it's something that in non-monogamy you have to kind of disentangle from that thought process. That just because you're with someone of the opposite sex, and just because you two share a passion about something non-sexual, that you are going to have sex as if you don't have any control. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. People use it as an excuse, but it's not true.
Right, right. So would you say that being open allows you to enjoy the things you want to enjoy without having to compromise all the time?
There's always compromise. You do have to compromise. You compromise and negotiate more in non-monogamy than you do in monogamy. You can't you have more communication, more radical honesty in non-monogamy than you do in monogamy. There's going to anytime you have two humans that are interacting, if it's you and your child, you and your mom, you and your boss, there is going to be some level of compromise and negotiation and settings of boundaries, not borders, right? We're not looking to control our partners. And this applies in monogamy as well as non-monogamy. What we have to remember is that we are two individuals, two whole people that came together to be in a relationship. You didn't complete me. I'm a complete woman when I stepped into the room or even stepped into the relationship. And I would expect for you to be a whole man, when you step to me about being in a relationship. And, when the romantic era kind of came into play in the 1600s, whatever it was exactly, this is when love became this thing, when all of a sudden our partner became our passion project. Whereas if you look up the history of marriage, marriage was a contract, right? Your parents had this handsome son named Kayo and 200 acres of land and 400 cows. And my parents had this beautiful daughter named Taylor and 400 acres of land and 300 sheep. And when our two families merged through marriage, we had strength and or more respectability, if you will, in the community. We had more power, we had more money as a family unit. And our commitment was to the contract. If we were lucky, love came, you know, but we were committed to having children, we were committed to working that land and whatever business we might have had. So there's always going to be compromise and negotiation. It doesn't that doesn't go away.
Right, right, right. Now you mentioned like controlling your partner and how problematic that can be as well, because like in relationships, issue that tends to come up is expectations. And when we look at gender roles as well, like for example, traditionally, one person would lead in a relationship and the other person would choose to follow. And some people feel like, yeah, that's the natural way. Like there's a leader and then there's like how that's how you should come together. And some people feel like, well, I don't really feel free in that dynamic, and I actually would like to just coexist in a relationship. So with that being said, what is your viewpoint on like gender roles within relationships?
I think that whoever wants to lead should lead. Everybody doesn't want to lead, you know? And the best thing about being an adult is you get to design the relationship that you want. You know, marriage is a social construct. Based on what's happening in society at this time, is how the marriage is. Monogamy as we know it today is only been this way for the most recent 200 years. Again, going back to history of marriage, you know, yes, everybody kind of had their roles. Well, women had babies and women couldn't vote and women didn't really work. They worked the farm. If they had a farm, they worked, right? You know, you had more people that were working for themselves than, you know, once the industrial age came about. And so because men decided how the family structure would be in some cultures, that's the way that it is. But if the woman has strengths that the man doesn't have, and the man recognizes that, most, and you know, you see it always in jest, you know, men and women who've been married a long time. The man's like, she's the boss. I just turn my check over to her. She takes care of it. But if you generalize, yeah, there are men, there are some things that men do better than women, and vice versa. You know, I've never been a woman that goes, I don't need no man. You know, like, well, I don't want to take out the damn trash. Every time I got to take out the trash, I get pissed. You know, like, why I got to take out the trash, you know? But the whole book that Dr. John Gray wrote, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, did discuss a lot of there were a lot of generalities about our different genders and how we handle things. And there's a lot of truth to it. So whether we want to be in that position or not, that's the bottom line.
Right.
Because every man was not taught to lead. Every man didn't have a male, you know, role model, whether it's a dad or an uncle or the Boy Scouts, that showed him how to lead.
Right.
So if he wants to, like, hey, you can take care of that, I'm okay, then it's okay. It's not a matter of right or wrong, it's a matter of difference. And literally, what works for you and your partner is all that matters, not what the general society says. You two get to decide, even in monogamy, in non monogamy, the three of you, what worked for you? And that's really the question that you have to ask your partner over and over and over again. What works for you? Is this working for you? Do you want me to take over certain things? I don't want to take over these. Can you take over those things? Is there somebody we can hire to do some things? Maybe you're not handy around the house. You know, it's like, you know what? We're gonna make enough money, we're gonna hire a handyman. You'd be like, nah, I don't want to fix it. We can hire somebody for that. Totally okay.
Yeah, it's definitely true that everybody should do what works for them. But would you say that like women are naturally hardwired to be attracted to a man that's able to take the lead, or would you say that's just like a saying?
No, some of it has to do with our DNA, of course, and epigenetics, right? So epigenetics that controls epigenetics doesn't change our cells or our DNA, but what it does, it decides what is going to be turned on and off within our cells. So since men are naturally stronger than women, and men are put on this earth not only to fix shit, but to protect us, that is in our genes. It's in the genes of every mammal that a woman would look to a man who's stronger and bigger and looks like he could protect and provide for her and the offspring that she will be carrying. So that is something that's cellular, you know, within us that has been passed through us. That's what we're hoping to find. But now, as we've evolved, and now we've got into this ability to reason and have a conversation and be like, "Do you do that?" Now you can kind of make the decisions, but we will be naturally attracted to something that way. Now, how does that play if a person is gay, right? If you're a gay female and you lean more towards masculinity because that is how you are wired, then you are not going, you may be looking more for a feminine femme, if you will, as opposed to a butch gay woman, because you lean more on the masculine side.
Right.
Again, it is how we are wired.
Right. Yeah, 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 for sure. So, like oftentimes, when people hear about an open relationships, like focusing on like the relationship dynamics between men and women, like when people hear about an open relationship, they tend to feel like, oh, it means there's something missing in that relationship. That's why it's open. What do you say to that? And do you feel like that there's an element of truth to it? Do you feel like there is something missing in a relationship for it to be open, or do you feel like a relationship can be completely wholesome and be open?
Yeah, our relationship was completely wholesome and was open and swinging and poly. What the question that comes up a lot, usually when one partner addresses another partner about opening the relationship, is why am I not enough? And one thing I want to say is that no one can no one can check every box that you have on your list. No one person can fulfill all of your needs. Some of us are very lucky where we got 10 things on our list and we find somebody that completes eight of those things. And out of those eight of those things, the most important things are checked off. Those other two things, like not being a handyman, who cares? We can hire somebody for that. But sometimes somebody will check off a number of your boxes, but the most important ones, religion, X, finances, right? Health aren't checked off. And those are really important to you, but you marry this person anyway. And then you discover I can't actually do without these things. I'm always looking for it someplace else. And, maybe I could find it someplace else. So when someone says, why am I not enough? Why do you need to open the relationship to do that? One of the answers are kind of the example I gave you about the two libidos. And it's not I want to take the pressure off of you trying to do more and me trying to do less in order for us to try to meet someplace in the middle. Or I want to have more dates or more kissing, or I want to have more exploring female friendships without the sex. And me wanting more takes nothing away from what we have together. So it's not like anything is missing. It's that there is some other thing that I am not getting from you as a person that I might want. And it may not be something that you have, but it doesn't take it away from what we have. And I tell people we're not pie. I'm not going to run out of slices, right? Because it's like, yeah, but if you go over there, like for 25 years, my husband would not do salsa dancing with me. Is that a missing element in the relationship? No, it's a desire for me to want salsa dancing, which has nothing to do with me having sex with other people.
Right, right, right.
Our
So,
sex life was good. But I wanted he would not. So am I supposed to be without salsa dancing for the rest of my life because he won't salsa dance?
right, right,
Or you know what I mean? So one thing is letting that person know is that because I have other desires, it's not that what I have with you is missing something. I have other desires
right, right.
that I want to fulfill in my life. So it's in trying to make your partner be something that they're not, do something that they don't want to do, is not fair to them either.
Right, right. So would you say it comes down to a sense of ownership over someone versus a sense of experiencing someone? For example, like if you are experiencing your partner, like they are free to do whatever they want to do, but it doesn't take away from the experience that you have with them. But if you want to own someone, then it kind of like you're restricting them from what they can and can't do because you own them. Do you feel like it comes down to that, or is it different?
Nobody owns anybody. Nobody belongs. Nobody belongs to anybody. I mean, honestly, right? Nobody belongs to anybody. It is a, like, again, we're two individuals that have come together in this relationship, and you want to maintain your autonomy within the relationship. So it's not about you can't do this and you can't do that. It's like, what do you want? You have to be able to explain to your partner what it is that you want. And you should have these conversations before you were married, not within the marriage, not when you're already there.
Right, right, right. Now, regardless of if like a relationship is monogamous or non-monogamous, jealousy can always arise. For example, in a monogamous situation, it could be like I notice you're talking to this person or spending time with this person, and in a non-monogamous relationship, it could be you're spending more time with this partner than you're spending with me, or we're not like communicating the same way as you communicate with that other partner over there. So, like to the point that the partner that's been accused wants to let their partner know that there's nothing to be jealous about. Um, so how can that partner explain to their partner that like there's no need for them to be jealous? And how can a person that's feeling these emotions of jealousy start to deal with those emotions?
So for the person who has a partner and that partner is jealous, that's not your job to explain to your partner that you didn't do anything. Emotional management is an inside job. It's an inside job. So we have the ability to control our emotions. Some of us just choose not to. Um, Monogamy, the romantic era, has made us believe that somehow jealousy is this taboo thing that kind of must be in a relationship because if you're not jealous, you don't care. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. So if I am triggered because I see my partner liking somebody on Facebook or staring at some woman or watching porn or too friendly with his work life and I'm triggered, that is my sign, that is my clue to look inside. That's my signal, right? Like the check engine light in your car, when the check engine light goes off, what do? You pop the hood. So that's my signal to look inside, not point at you and go, you did, or they did, or this incident, or your job. No. Why am I triggered? What is going on with me? What are my needs that's making me, do I need more attention? Do I need to feel more secure? What do I need? And you, the person who's jealous, has to look inside and find a way to calm yourself down. And mind you, jealousy is one of those things that will trigger your fight or flight. When you're like, "Ah, I cannot believe, and you get all upset, your fight or flight gets triggered. So when you're in a fight or flight mode, it's difficult to rationalize because you're ready to either kick somebody's ass, or leave the situation, right? And so sometimes you have to talk to yourself because this is your brain trying to protect you from this threat. But there is no threat. It's just you talking to you. So you have to say to yourself, all right, let me calm down here. Like, what is actually happening? Right? Who are the players involved? If there are boundaries, and I think the boundaries have been crossed, does all the players involved know these boundaries are even in place? Maybe I need to take a step to the bathroom and have a conversation with myself and be like, I'm okay. The mantra I like to use is I can stand this. I can
Right.
stand to know that my partner finds other women, and even in monogamy, right? I can stand to know that my partner finds other women attractive. I mean, he's a man. He likes beautiful women, clearly, right? Why would he not be attracted to other women? He's not dead. He's not gay. If we're talking, straight couple, hetero couple. So why would he not? It's okay. He's going home with me. You know, calm yourself down. Everything's going to be okay.
Right.
Find some way to self soothe. Like when you have a little baby, and at some point you stop picking them up every time they cry, and they figure, it's my pacifier. I'm going to suck my thumb. I'm going to hold my toy, and I'm going to soothe myself to sleep. That same thing happens. And then once you get yourself kind of in a calm state, just because you have an emotion doesn't mean you have to act upon it right then and there. You can talk to your partner. I always say communication is better in the morning. Sleep on this feeling, sit with the being uncomfortable, You don't got to lash out and have this conversation right now. Wait until the morning. Go over a cup of coffee and be like, babe, wow, I was so triggered yesterday. Like, really? What happened? Like, what I do would be, no, you didn't do anything because it's internal. And I know it's internal. But I'm just letting I calm myself down. I know nothing happened. And I'm good, but I'm just letting you know. You see,
Yeah, yeah.
using your words is the most important thing when it comes to communication. And you think about toddlers when they're like 3 years old, they're just learning how to form sentences and they throw themselves to the floor. You're like, what is wrong with you? You're like, because what do you, why are you crying? I didn't, but okay, stop that crying. Use your words. What is the matter?
Right,
And we become adults and we're stomping around the freaking house and, you know what you did. You know what you like. Use your words.
right, right,
Stop
right.
acting like a toddler. Get up off the damn floor.
Right, for sure, for sure, for sure. I would even say like the higher the level of trust in a relationship, the lower the level of jealousy in a relationship. But sometimes, that trust can be broken. For example, infidelity can happen in a relationship. Even in a non-monogamous relationship, there are kind of boundaries that have been set or like rules that have been set between the partner that can still be broken. So that is still a form of infidelity. So once that trust is broken, a lot of people find it hard to get back to where they were because of the trust that was broken. So with that being said, what is your viewpoint on forgiveness after infidelity in a relationship?
The question is, do you want to forgive them or not? That's a decision. Do you want to forgive them or not? Because if you want to forgive them, then you have to forgive them and move on. But if you're going to bring it up every time you get it, your elbow itches. I remember last year, you were talking to Katisha and you went off with like all you do is reignite that energy, right? And for the person who broke the trust, well, you messed up, right? And what are you going to do to ensure that you don't do it again? I don't know what that boundary might have been, right? But we can say infidelity, right? That's the one that seems to be, the most hurtful for people. And what a lot of people who are the doers of the infidelity don't seem to realize, it's less about the fact that you had sex with somebody. It's the fact that you lied. It's the deceit. That's what breaks the trust. Especially if I've asked you, are you doing something? Are you doing something? Did you do something? You're going to do something? Because we don't understand how to be radically honest because we're so concerned that our partner, if we tell our partner we're interested in having, sex with, Keisha or, Bob, that they will just melt into a puddle on the floor. So we don't even give our partners the opportunity to grow emotionally through this knowledge that you, in fact, are interested in somebody else. So the trust has been broken. Maybe a boundary has been broken. Maybe the boundary is, we're not going to spend the night with somebody. And we go out of town and we have sex with somebody because that part's okay. But we fall asleep because we had sex until 4 o'clock in the morning. And oh my God, I broke that boundary and I fell asleep, woke up in a panic that was beyond, because that was a boundary, no spending the night. And I was so afraid to tell my husband that I fell asleep. Because I had to confess because I don't lie. I don't lie because I can't remember anything. But the fact of the matter is, if you're the one that broke the boundary, have the conversation, come clean, expect, to not have a good conversation. But if you're the one who had the boundary broken on, you have to decide if you're going to forgive them or not.
Right, excellent, excellent. Yeah,
That's the only way to rebuild the trust. And if you're going to forgive them and forget it and move forward. Because every time you bring it up, you ignite that same negative energy, and you're just on this wheel. You're just on an infinite loop that won't ever stop.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, honesty is a honesty is definitely the best way forward, regardless of what has happened in a relationship. If you want to move forward with that relationship, yeah. So, Taylor, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for everything that you've shared.
Oh,
Where could people find you, find out more about you, and find out more about what you do?
well, Organic Lovin, LOVEN.com. I'm Organic Lovin on all social media. And I am now where, Kayo? Aren't I
You are
someplace new?
now with matecoach.io, and your link will definitely be in the description. And welcome to our team. It's great to have you
Thank
with us
you.
as well. Excellent,
I
excellent.
am so excited to be here. I think this is just an amazing platform, and I think it's going to be very helpful for people who really just need, because coaching is different from therapy, right? Therapy counseling helps you to recover and uncover the things that you are trying to, heal from, if you will, right? Whereas coaching is to help you discover what your goals are in your relationships, whether it's your job, your business, or relationship. So those of us who are coaching are here to help people move forward with their goals and dreams and desires. So thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Taylor. And for the viewers, all the links to her socials will be in the description, so you can contact Taylor and find out more about what she does. Once again, Taylor, thank you so much for coming on. Any final words before we wrap up?
Just love authentically, boldly, purely, naturally, and organically. Just love.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Taylor.
Thank you.